From being one of the largest shipping vessels in the Great Lakes to breaking several records during its time of service, the SS Edmund Fitzgerald was regarded as a legendary ship, and it still is half a century later. During its final voyage, the mighty Fitz departed from the Twin Ports on November 9, 1975, with the Arthur M. Anderson. The Edmund Fitzgerald carried 26,000 tons of taconite pellets and a crew of 29 men from the Northland and beyond. They would be met with a vicious, stormy evening. The gales of November.
There was a horrific storm pounding the Northland that night, so a lot of people stayed in their homes.
Phone calls were coming into the newsroom that a ship had gone down. WDIO's Dennis Anderson broke the story to the Northland that very night that the Edmund Fitzgerald had sank.
I really debated within myself, do I go on the air even with it? Because I feared that there might be some people related to those who were on the ship.
Residents in the Twin Ports waited with bated breath to hear about what had happened, and Anderson put together a news bulletin with details on the sinking of the Fitz, just 17 miles off of Whitefish Point, Michigan.
We don't see many ships sinking in Lake Superior, although I've been told there are probably like 300 that have gone down over the many years. And I really, truly needed to get that information on the air as soon as I could.
That night was the last time a ship and its crew sunk to Superior's lakebed. Since then, communities gather every year to pay their respects to the men who served on the ship and their extended families. Bruce Lynn has been part of the Great Lakes Shipwreck Museum at Whitefish Bay for several years and says there are countless shipwrecks scattered across the bottom of the Great Lakes we should honor.
You had a lot of wrecks that just disappeared and nobody survived and nobody knows where they even are at this point. So when we think of the Fitzgerald, we think of those other shipwrecks at the same time. I think that's pretty important.
Over the past 5 decades, descendants and relatives of the crew, alongside Northlanders, have made an annual pilgrimage to Split Rock Lighthouse and the Great Lakes Shipwreck Museum along Lake Superior shores, joining in solidarity for the lives lost.
But with each one of these families, we are seeing more of the grandchildren and the great-grandchildren. And so with the Fitzgerald period, the interest on the part of the general public just never seems to wane. Think about those 29 men. That's the most important part of this story.
A number of things have changed in the aftermath, specifically in terms of prevention, prediction, and preparation.
And Jason Rohn of the Duluth Seaway Port Authority says significant advancement in shipping technology since the Fitz have led to safer waters.
From a prevention standpoint, the U.S. Coast Guard began mandating pre-November hatch inspections and also modified rules to prevent overloading of the vessels. From a prediction standpoint, the U.S. Coast Guard began deploying data buoys in Lake Superior in the late 1970s and early 1980s.
Rohn says in 1975, weather forecasters only had 3 data points covering Lake Superior. But by 2000, computer models increased by 420, transforming weather prediction.
Preparation also took a big step forward. Freighters began carrying survival suits with strobes. They had emergency beacons. There were enhancements in terms of 3D GPS and vessel tracking systems. So the vessels and the crews took a big step forward.
While it is a huge part of history, a lot of people remember it and are deeply connected to it. And of course, crew members were from Duluth to Iron River, and a lot of those folks and their family members are of course still around.
Many are reminded that Superior was the SS Edmund Fitzgerald's final stop. However, people like Jenny Van Sickle are determined to find a new way to commemorate the larger-than-life history of the ship and crew. And so the Friends of the Fitz was born, establishing a new historic marker on Barker's Island.
When we started talking about this, we got donations in from all over the region, all over the state. Folks really, really care about this work. I don't know if there's anything we could ever really do to fully commemorate and honor those men and that crew, their mission.
As younger generations and newcomers visit the Twin Ports, learning the maritime history of the Great Lakes, Dennis Anderson says longtime residents who were there to first hear about the tragic shipwreck will never forget the legacy of the SS Edmund Fitzgerald.
Perhaps the greatest thing is how the Northland accepted that information right away. And I have to say, I didn't get one complaint ever from anybody that I rushed to get it on the air, that it was information the Northland feels they needed. And I think that's probably the biggest memory that I have, knowing that I think I did the right job.
For WDIO News, I'm William Lean.